welcome back to Strange Minds 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into The Octunnumi by Trevor Allen Force. Now, if you would please hit that like button if you haven't already, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It would mean a great deal to me to have you guys join this community, and definitely can't wait to hear all of the comments and what parts you liked, what parts you didn't like, what parts could have been improved. So without further ado, here is The Octunnumi. It's just down there, clambering down the side of a steep embankment. Trad and VB disappear from view. So, are we looking for an insomid? Reg calls down to him as he and Veeth follow. No, Trad replies. There's only the one way in and out of this insomid. But he jumps the sludge stream, breaking into a sprint, heads for the craggy rock face ahead of them, and vanishes. Trad! Reg shouts. Trad, for Christ! Trad! Pausing to offer assistance to Veeth, which she completely ignores and jumps the stream unaided. Reg hesitates momentarily. Oh? What's wrong with her now? Right, Reg mutters, following behind her. Trad! He calls again. There's always something. VB, VB, okay, VB calls back, hovering near the sheer face of rock. VB, through here, she announces. Really? Reg mutters, looking at the solid wall of rock. VB, really? VB nods, arms folded, waiting. And just how do you suggest I do that? Reg snips, mirroring her stance, albeit not hovering and not quite managing the same level of contempt, before she drops down and through the rock. What? How? Mr. Regis, it is possible for you to follow. Even I can't walk through rock, Trevor. Well, technically, rock is rock. Reg grumbles. I cannot walk through, hesitating as Veeth disappears after VB. Oh. Mr. Regis, sir, if you would just... Moving around the rock face, a very slim crevice comes into view, which from any other angle is lost. I see. Reg coughs. Well, yes. Edging sideways through the opening, the narrow silver gives way to a hollowed-out cave. As the three cram in, Trad proceeds to brush away moss and undergrowth until he finds another opening in the rock wide enough to walk down. This way. Trad, Veeth calls as he disappears into the darkness. Where the hell are you going? Just follow me. But the smell, she calls down to him, is a deterrent, he shouts back. Well, it's got my vote, she mutters reluctantly, accepting the square of fabric Reg produces from his pocket. You carry a hanky, she laughs. No, I thought a hanky. He smiles. And you couldn't have thought of a gas mask? She laughs, indicating VB zipping around, hers securely in place. Is there no pleasing her? Well, I could. No, this is fine, she smiles. Thank you. The tunnel, dimly lit by bulbs, strung along the walls, slopes downwards, the damp moss glistening, the odor making it a challenge to breathe, let alone speak. It's actually an underground system, Trad calls back, seemingly unaffected by the stench. It was used for the diversion of water, he adds. It's donkeys years old. And you know about it how? Reg asks. Pemmidy. Pemmidy? Yes, she brought me here. Well, ages ago. Trad stops abruptly and gropes at the wall, thanking Phoebe for the beam of light from her freshly aided headlamp. Because, Veith asks, looking along the tunnel that continues on it in front of them. She said that if ever I needed a place to hide, to come here. It was the safest place on earth. He smiles. To quote Pemmidy. And what makes you think she is here? Veith asks, not quite believing that she was here herself, let alone her little sister. Because, Trad replies, still rummaging. It's the safest place on earth, of course. Aha! He smiles, removing a small rock, triggering the instantaneous collapse of the wall directly in front of them. Oops, Trad mutters. As the rubble settles, he grins at the others, still holding the small rock. He adds, I don't remember that happening last time. Oh well, he shrugs, tossing the rock. After you. The rocks, having fallen suspiciously neatly into small walls, creating a path between, guide them further into a large cavern beyond. As Trad and Phoebe step in behind Reg and Veith, an army of tiny mechanized teddies drop from the ceiling, sliding down ropes and chains from the cave roof. Others pop up from the floor on long stilts, and still more shoot out from the crevices on poles, all armed with exceptionally long spears. Tiny Teds with tiny long spears, each one slightly pushing against clothing, into flesh, nose, cheeks, arms. They're everywhere, except on Trad and Phoebe. Oh, right, Trad says, nodding. The teddies. I forgot all about the teddies. He smiles at Reg and Veith. Phoebe, giving a brief, smug wave from Trad's shoulder. I wouldn't make any movement if I were you. You think? Reg mutters, trying really hard to do just that, as a particularly aggressive teddy pushes his little spear a little harder against his nose. Oi! Attence! Ow! Veith asks through clenched teeth, not daring to move her lips for the fear of inadvertently gaining a facial piercing. We wait. Trad replies, Pemmidy will be here. Any minute. He smiles, glancing around, nodding politely at the armed teddies. All right. Trad nods to the one nearest, currently threatening to skewer Reg's Adam apple. Good, thanks. The incredible gruff voice replies, taking his eyes off Reg. You? Yeah, good, thanks. Trad nods. Glad to hear it. The little Ted replies, falling silent. After a while, Trad inquires, So busy? So, he replies. Some days, more than others. Right. Trad shrugs to his brother. Sorry about the mini Ted gestures the spears. You know, gotta follow procedure. Of course, Trad says, completely understand. Trying not to see Reg's glare, and especially not hear the stream of obscenities currently directed into his mind. Hang on, the Ted says, lowering the spear away from Adam's apple. Much to his relief, as he takes the opportunity to swallow, suddenly flinching as a spear zips past his ear, embedding itself in a lump of moss on the rock wall. Soft strands of piped background music drift into the cave. Now that's more relaxing, isn't it? The Ted smiles, resuming his stance against Reg's throat with a spare spear. I, Trad actually has no comeback, so closes his mouth and his mind and waits. Vibi leans back on Trad's head and waits and studies her nails and waits. I knew you'd come, squeaks an excited little voice. Oh, thank God, Trad sighs. Pemity! Veeth exclaims, trying to push the teddies aside. Teddies, relax, Pemity commands. Sorry, they can be a little zealous. She grins as they transform from gray metal to pink and fluffy, their spears turning to candy. Oh my God, Pemity! Veeth! Pemity runs to her sister, arms outstretched. Oh my God, Pemity! Veeth repeats, picking her up and hugging her close before pulling back to look at her, stroking her face. I had forgotten how cute you are. She hugs her again. Veeth, I can't breathe. And put me down. I'm not a child. Well, technically, don't even go there. Pemity chuckles. Hello, Pemity, Reg says, readjusting his nose. Hi, Reg, she says, hugging him. Okay, so I know you have loads of questions, she sighs, already bored with what she knows is coming. But I promise, you will be brought right up to speed later. That means you too, Trevor. Yes, Miss Pemity. Very good to see you again and looking so well. Likewise, Trevor. She smiles, and I'm liking the new name. Thank you, miss. But for now, she turns, you will have to wait. We have very important stuff to do. She grins. Follow me. Come on, come on. She grabs Trad's hand, scooping Vibi up and clasping her to her chest. You are going to love what I have done to the place. The youngest of three sisters, Pemidif, Triscripti, Cressiap, a mass of ringlets, enthusiasm, positive energy, and contagiously happy outlook, unlike her sister Veeth's slightly obnoxious happy, skips ahead with Vibi, bouncing along in her arms, both giggling along, although Vibi is more Vibi being than giggling, and carved rock. The crudely carved rock, illuminated by cabin lights, punctuating the multiple lines of electric cable running along the roof of the narrow walkway, gradually gives way to a smoother, warmer surface until eventually opening up into a grand entrance hall of a stately house. The bright, airy lobby, with its elaborate staircase and balcony, is straight out of... Oh my! Wait a minute, Trad says, looking around at the familiar setting. Isn't this place out of Pride and Prejudice? Pemity squeals, excitedly clapping her hands and jumping up and down. Don't you love it? Say you love it. You do love it, don't you? Please say you love it, Trevor. It's very... Okay. Trad smiles. I love it. What's the word? Phoebe. Me too. Phoebe claps excitedly. I knew you would, she says, hugging his hand. So romantic, she smiles, grabbing Phoebe and swinging her around in circles. I wouldn't know, he laughs. Not really my thing. It's about prejudices, something he definitely knows about. It's how people can be completely wrong about another without reason, she quips. You know, prejudice. Bored with spinning, Pemity pulls Phoebe to her and whispers to Trad while glancing back at Veith and Reg, who are exploring the room leading off the hall. Tash? Both Phoebe and Trad shake their head. She touches his hand. You'll find her. He's not looking, apparently. You're not looking for her? She shoots a look at Trad. But you always do. Yeah, well, he nods. So pink, huh? I'm not sure I remember quite so much, if any pink in the movie. Pink! That's what he is taking from this? Well, she says, letting go of his hand. You know I like pink, she smiles, spinning around, arms stretched out. Now that you are finally here, she says, heading to a small door under the stairs and selecting 3 pairs of novelty sunglasses from the extensive collection on the console table. You'll need these. Reg, she continues, you can leave your hat there. So nice to see someone is keeping up tradition. She grins at Trad, who pulls a face in response. And you can hang your coats here, she adds, indicating the cloakroom behind her. Plunking oversized glasses on her head, Phoebe asks, Phoebe, which ones? As she switches between pairs. Oh, those. Definitely. Pemity smiles at the frames adorned with oversized mock fruit. Opening the small door and disappearing, she calls, Come on! Her voice echoing back to them. In stark contrast to the very pinkness of the hall, Reg, Veith, and Trad step through the doorway into the very darkness of the very narrow platform of the very steep stone steps it serves, only visible thanks to the brilliant light shining up from the cave's opening way below. A bit dark, Reg mutters. Probably, Veith says, leaning over to remove his sunglasses due to these. Hilarious. I knew that, he replies, trying to look like he did. Pay no mind, Mr. Regis. Come on, slow couches. Pemity's voice drifts up from below. Phoebe, come on, Phoebe echoes. Geez, Chad exclaims, glancing over the draped rope surrounding the little area at the top of the steps, rethinking the move instantly, pushing himself spread eagle back against the rock face behind him. That's a long way down. Come on! Pemity's voice becoming distant as she skips down the very narrow steps. Race ya! Veith smiles as she pushes past the boys. Don't fall for it, mister. You're on. Reg grins, following. Come on, Trad. Oh. Yeah, you go ahead. I'll just take my gingerly taking the first step. I'll be there. And the next, still pressed flat to the wall. In a... Wow, that's a long way down, and so steep. Feeling with his foot for the next step, and so many, he puffs nervously. Steps. While we wait the extraordinarily long time it appears it is going to take Mr. Tradian to navigate the not that steep steps, especially considering the skills he has at his disposal. I would like to point out that this is what happens when you cut yourself off from your inner self. You forget to check in and therefore not be reminded that you could quite easily teleport yourself to the bottom. But far be it from me to interfere. Instead, I would like to, nice of you to join us, Reg says. VB throws him a glare as she pats Trad on the shoulder. Right, he's down then. You okay, Trad? Pemity asks, holding his hand, the bright light from the opening making her hair almost glow. Yeah, good, of course. No problem, just... He glances back. Scared? Reg laughs. You leave him alone. Veeth snaps. It's not like you are not afraid of stuff. Veeb. Yeah. VB huffs. Then, BB, there, to the pale, drawn Trad. What? I... Reg stammers. Shush up, you lot. You'll spoil the surprise. Pemity smiles. Come on. The short walk through the tunnel towards the blazing light and inviting warm air turns from rocky cave to secluded sandy cove, white silky sand, blue azure sea, rippling in and out, seagulls overhead. How? Cut off by a 4-foot high surge of energy rushing at them from nowhere. The three are encased in little arms and squeals of delight as the missing children hug the new arrivals. Wow, so Pemity brought them to the missing children. That's crazy. Well, definitely comment down below. What do you think about that? Like, how do you feel after all this time, them trying to find the children and they finally found them? Like, any ideas or any comments? Do you think it's a trap? Definitely leave your responses in the comments and let's see if maybe we can have a friendly discussion about it. But this has come to an end for this chapter. And I would like to say, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It would mean a great deal to me. And if you haven't liked this video, please hit that like button. And as always, this is your host, Ruby, signing off.